My name is John Smith,
Hello, John.
and this is my family. There has been a misunderstanding. I am with the FBI.
On what was supposed to be a joyful family road trip, a black father named Marcus, his wife Alicia, and their 2 children are pulled over for a fabricated, broken taillight. What begins as a routine stop quickly spirals into humiliation, intimidation, and systemic abuse as an arrogant sergeant drags Marcus out of the car in front of his terrified family. With every shove, the children witness the raw face of racism, silence from the complicit officers, cruel threats from the aggressor, and their mother's desperate cries for dignity. Backup arrives, the wall of authority thickens, but so do the cracks. One young officer hesitates, a crowd gathers, and cameras begin recording. Marcus refuses to kneel, his voice a weapon sharper than any handcuff, and the truth he carries shakes the foundation of their false power. In the storm of accusations and threats, Marcus finally reveals his hidden identity. He is an FBI agent, a protector of law and justice. Shock ripples through the officers and the crowd as his credentials prove real. The corrupt sergeant collapses in panic, and Poetic justice turns the tables. The very man who tried to shackle Marcus is handcuffed and led away in disgrace. In a single night, a family's nightmare transforms into a nation's testimony. Proof that racism may silence, but it cannot defeat truth, dignity, and justice. The black SUV hummed along the highway, its windows rolled down just enough to let in the late summer air. Vacation officially begins now, Marcus Johnson said, tapping the steering wheel in rhythm with the old-school R&B song on the radio. His deep voice carried the kind of certainty that usually settled his family. From the passenger seat, Alicia smiled but didn't unclench her hands from her lap. "I'll relax when we actually get there. You know how I feel about driving through these little towns." "You've been watching too much news," Marcus teased, though his eyes flicked to the rearview mirror. Jamal, 15, leaned forward from the back seat, earbuds dangling. "Mom's right. You've seen those videos. Cops pulling folks over for nothing. People disappearing. I don't want us on the news." "Not today," Marcus said firmly. "Not us, we're going to the beach. Family time. That's all." 8-year-old Nia piped up from beside her brother. "Does the hotel have a pool? With the floaty things?" "Yes, baby," Alicia said quickly, forcing a smile. She reached back and brushed her daughter's braids. "A big one. You'll swim until you turn into a mermaid." The mood lifted for a moment. The SUV rolled into a small gas station off the highway, faded sign creaking in the wind. Marcus parked and stepped out to pump. Inside the car, Alicia lowered her voice. "He acts calm, but he sees it too. The way people stare." Sure enough, as Marcus walked into the convenience store to pay, 3 men near a pickup truck stared openly. One muttered something under his breath. Jamal caught it, jaw tightening. Marcus returned with a plastic bag. He didn't mention what he'd heard inside. The cashier pretending not to notice him, the woman clutching her purse tighter as he walked past. Instead, he slid into the driver's seat. Snacks acquired. No road trip is complete without them. Jamal took the bag. "Chips and candy aren't going to distract me, Dad." Marcus turned to face him. His voice dropped. "Son, listen to me. People may stare, they may mutter, but we don't give them power. Not today. We keep our heads high. Understood?" Jamal didn't answer right away. He just stared at his father, then finally nodded. The car pulled back onto the highway, the gas station shrinking in the distance. The Johnsons didn't know it yet, but the real test of Marcus's words, of dignity, patience, and power, was waiting just down the road. The Johnsons had been driving less than an hour since the gas station, when the flashing red and blue lights appeared in the rearview mirror. Marcus's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "Stay calm," he said, more to himself than to anyone else. Alicia's breath hitched. "Marcus, I see them." The SUV slowed, easing onto the gravel shoulder. Dust swirled as the cruiser rolled up behind them. From the back seat, Jamal's voice cut through the tense silence. "We weren't speeding." "What did you do?" "Nothing," Marcus answered firmly. He glanced at his son. "Remember that." The door of the police car slammed. Heavy boots crunched gravel. "License and registration." The officer's voice boomed before Marcus even had a chance to roll his window down. A tall white man in uniform leaned into view, mirrored sunglasses hiding his eyes. Another officer stepped out of the cruiser, younger, hand resting on his holstered gun. Marcus rolled down the window, his movements slow, deliberate. "Good afternoon, officer." "May I ask why I was stopped?" "Broken taillight." The words came clipped, almost bored. Marcus's brow furrowed. "With respect, sir, I check my vehicle regularly." "Both taillights are—" "Don't argue with me." The officer's voice sharpened. "License, registration now," Alicia bristled. "There's no need to yell. He's cooperating." The younger officer approached the passenger side, tapping the glass. "Ma'am, keep your hands where I can see them." Alicia's chest rose and fell quickly, but she raised her hands, palms open. Jamal whispered, barely audible, "Mom, Dad, I'm recording." He slid his phone low against the seat, camera pointed upward. Marcus handed over his documents, his hands steady though his jaw was tight. "Here you go." The officer snatched them. "Step out of the vehicle." Marcus froze. "Excuse me?" "You heard me. Out now." "Sir," Marcus said evenly, "my family is inside." "I've complied fully. Is there a reason?" The officer leaned closer, his breath hot. "You people always have a reason, don't you?" "Step out of the car," Nia whimpered in the back. "Daddy." Marcus met Alicia's eyes. She shook her head, fear flashing across her face. Slowly, Marcus unbuckled his seatbelt. "Kids will stay calm," he murmured. He opened the door and stepped onto the gravel. The sun beat down, heat shimmering off the road. The officer circled him like a predator. "Hands on the hood." Marcus complied. The younger officer leaned toward Alicia's window. "Ma'am, where are you headed?" "Vacation," she answered, her voice clipped. "With our children." "Funny place for a vacation," he said with a smirk. "You folks live around here?" "No," Alicia said firmly. "And we're not answering more questions without reason." The officer's smile faded. "Careful, ma'am. Attitude like that won't help him." He jerked his chin toward Marcus. On the hood of the SUV, Marcus kept his voice calm. "My children are watching. Please conduct yourself professionally." The officer chuckled. "Professional enough." He patted Marcus down roughly, slamming a hand against his pockets. "What are you carrying? Drugs, weapons?" "Nothing," Marcus said evenly. The man sneered. "We'll see about that." Behind the glass, Jamal's phone kept recording. His hands shook, but his grip didn't falter. He whispered to Nia, "Don't cry. Just stay quiet." The gravel crunched again as the second officer circled back toward the cruiser, muttering into his radio. Alicia gripped the steering wheel so tightly her knuckles turned white. Every second dragged like an eternity. Marcus stared straight ahead, sweat trickling down his temple. He'd been in dangerous situations before, but never with his children inches away, forced to watch. "Is this necessary?" he asked finally. The officer slammed his palm against the hood beside Marcus's hand. The loud smack made Nia yelp. "Don't tell me what's necessary. You're not in charge here." For a long, suffocating moment, the only sound was the hum of cicadas and Nia's muffled sobs. Jamal whispered again, voice trembling but determined. "I got all of that." Every word, and the camera kept rolling. The hood of the SUV burned against Marcus's palms under the midday sun. His shoulders tightened as the officer's hands moved roughly across his body again. "Spread your legs wider," the officer barked. Marcus did as told, his voice steady. "I've already complied." "There's no need." A sharp shove between his shoulders cut him off. Inside the SUV, Alicia's fists clenched in her lap. "Stop it," she shouted. "He's cooperating." The younger officer snapped his head toward her. "Ma'am, if you step out of this vehicle, I'll put you in cuffs too." Her breath hitched. She froze, torn between fury and fear. "Mom," Jamal's voice was low, almost breaking. "They're trying to humiliate him." He angled his phone slightly, ensuring the camera caught both officers. Marcus lifted his chin slightly, speaking loud enough for his kids to hear. "It's all right. I'm fine." But his jaw was tight, his knuckles white against the hood. The first officer pulled Marcus's wallet from his back pocket without asking. "Marcus Johnson." What are you hiding, Marcus?" "Nothing," Marcus replied evenly. The officer smirked. "You've got that calm, polished tone. That makes me think you've been through this before." He leaned closer, his words dripping venom. "Men like you always crack sooner or later." "Daddy," Nia's small voice quivered from the back seat. "Why are they hurting you?" Her words sliced through the air sharper than any weapon. Marcus shut his eyes briefly. He wanted to answer her, to protect her innocence, but the officer shoved him harder against the hood as if punishing him for the child's question. "Quiet," the officer barked, turning his head toward the SUV. "Control your kids." Alicia's voice trembled with rage. "Don't you dare talk to my children like that." The younger officer's hand hovered closer to his holster. "Ma'am, one more word." Jamal's whisper cut through again, urgent. "Mom, don't. I've got this on video, everything." Alicia swallowed hard. She forced herself back into silence, though tears streamed down her cheeks. The first officer stepped back, finally releasing Marcus from the hood. But instead of allowing him to move, he gestured sharply. "Turn around." Marcus obeyed, his hand still visible. The officer's eyes flicked to the SUV, then back to Marcus. "Your family thinks you're some kind of hero, huh? Let's see how they feel when you're in cuffs." He yanked out his handcuffs, metal clinking in the oppressive quiet. Jamal's camera caught the moment. His whisper carried the weight of history. "They're going to arrest him for nothing." Marcus's voice, calm but firm, broke the silence. "Officer, I've done nothing illegal." "You're making a mistake," the officer sneered. "The mistake was thinking you could drive through my town without being reminded who runs it." Alicia gasped. "My God." The younger officer stiffened slightly at the words but said nothing. Complicity hung heavier than the summer heat. Naya cried openly now, burying her face in Alicia's lap. Jamal's hand shook, but he never lowered the phone. Marcus met his son's eyes through the windshield. A silent exchange passed between them. "Hold on, keep recording." "Stay strong." The officer snapped the cuffs open with a sharp click, the sound echoing like a gunshot in the children's ears, and the nightmare pressed forward. The handcuffs dangled inches from Marcus's wrists, but the officer paused, savoring the power. "You know what resisting looks like?" he sneered. "It looks like this, noncompliance talking back, making me feel unsafe." Marcus's voice remained calm. "I haven't resisted. I've done everything you asked." "Don't tell me what I saw," the officer shot back. His partner hovered by the SUV, watching Alicia and the kids like a hawk. Inside, Alicia leaned forward. "Sir, my husband is innocent." "Please." The younger officer rapped on her window with his knuckles. "Ma'am, don't test me," Jamal whispered quickly, clutching his phone. "I'm still recording." "Every second." Marcus glanced toward the car, his voice sharp with warning. "Jamal, not a word." The boy's throat tightened. "But Dad, not a word." Marcus's eyes softened even as the officer gripped his arm. "Protect your sister. That's your job." Nia whimpered from Alicia's lap, peeking out with tear-filled eyes. "Daddy, don't let them take you." The first officer smirked, leaning close. "Might not be up to him, sweetheart." He rattled the cuffs for effect. Alicia snapped. "Stop terrifying my children. You have no cause." "Cause?" The officer barked a harsh laugh. "Lady, I can find cause. Smell that? Could be marijuana. Or maybe a concealed weapon. Either way, we've got every right to search your vehicle." Alicia's heart slammed in her chest. "You can't just—" "Yes, we can," the younger officer interrupted coldly. "Probable cause is whatever we say it is." Marcus straightened, eyes locked on the older man's sunglasses. His tone was iron. "You will not search my car. There are 2 minors inside. You have no warrant." The officer's grin widened. "Then we take you in. Resisting arrest. Interfering with an investigation. Pick your poison." The words hung heavy in the air like a death sentence. Alicia's hands shook on the steering wheel. Her voice came out raw. "We're law-abiding citizens. You're abusing your power." The younger officer's hand pressed against his holster again. "Ma'am, last warning." Inside the car, Jamal's pulse hammered in his ears. He whispered so quietly only his sister heard. "I've got proof." "This video, it'll save us," Nia sniffled. "But Daddy said—" "I know what he said," Jamal whispered back, teeth clenched. "But I can't just sit here." Outside, the older officer shoved Marcus lightly toward the SUV. "Open it up. Let us look, unless you've got something to hide." Marcus lifted his chin. His voice carried, calm but unyielding. "My family has nothing to hide, which is more than I can say for you." The man's face hardened. He tightened his grip on Marcus's arm, metal cuffs glinting in the sunlight. "One more word and I'll make sure your vacation ends in a cell." Inside, Jamal's finger hovered over the upload button on his phone. His breath trembled, and for the first time Marcus's eyes betrayed a flicker of fear. The siren's wail cut off as a second cruiser pulled in behind the first. Dust swirled around the line of vehicles. Two more officers stepped out, hands resting on their belts, eyes scanning the scene. Marcus stood rigid by the hood, the cuff still dangling in the older officer's grip. Alicia's pulse hammered in her ears. More of them. God help us, back up, the older officer said with a grin. Guess the party's getting bigger. One of the new arrivals, a stocky man with thinning hair, frowned. What's going on here? Routine stop, the first officer answered quickly. Broken taillight. Subjects being difficult, Marcus's voice carried clear. My taillights are fine. He dragged me out in front of my children. There's no cause. The stocky officer's eyes flicked from Marcus to the SUV, where Alicia's face was pale and the children's wide eyes pressed against the glass. His mouth opened slightly, then shut. He said nothing. The younger officer gestured toward the SUV. Family's agitated. Woman's close to interfering. Interfering? Alicia shouted from the driver's seat. I'm protecting my husband from abuse. Ma'am, the stocky officer said quietly, almost apologetically. Please, just stay calm. The words stung worse than silence. Stay calm while your husband's dignity is stripped away. Stay calm while your children watch. Marcus exhaled slowly. You see how this works? His voice was low, steady, but laced with fury. The silence, the nods. One man abuses power. The rest hold the line for him. Shut up, the first officer snapped, shoving the cuffs against his wrist. You don't lecture us. The stocky officer shifted uneasily, muttering under his breath. Just comply, sir. It'll be easier. Marcus turned his head, meeting the man's eyes dead on. Easier for who? For a moment, silence hung between them. The officer looked away. In the SUV, Jamal whispered urgently. Did you hear that? Even he knows it's wrong. His grip on the phone tightened. Dad's right, it's all of them. The silence, too. Nia clung to her brother's arm. I don't like this. I don't like this at all. The second new officer, tall, younger, his jaw tight, finally spoke. Look, maybe we should just check the taillights and wrap this up. It doesn't need to be. Stay out of it, the older one barked, cutting him off. I've got this handled. The word rang in Alicia's ears like a curse. She leaned halfway out the window, voice trembling but loud. My husband is not a criminal. My children are not criminals. You will not teach them otherwise. Quiet, the older officer roared, but Alicia's words lingered in the heavy summer air, undeniable, unerasable. Marcus straightened his spine. You hear that? She's braver than any of you. She speaks the truth you bury under excuses. The first officer shoved him again, harder this time. Last chance. Cooperate, or you'll regret it. Marcus's lips curved into the faintest, defiant smile. I've been cooperating since the moment you pulled me over. The cuffs clinked in the officer's fist, metal trembling with his rage. And in the silence that followed, Alicia realized something. Marcus wasn't just enduring. He was waiting. For what, she didn't yet know. But his stillness carried purpose, like a storm building behind steady clouds. The cuffs clinked again as the older officer tightened his grip, yanking Marcus's wrist toward the hood. Face down, hands flat. Don't make me say it again. The command cracked across the road like a whip. Alicia gasped, her hand slamming the window. No, he hasn't done anything. Inside the SUV, Nia buried her face in Jamal's shoulder. They're gonna hurt him. Jamal's jaw locked. Not if people see it. He angled the phone higher, camera lens steady on the scene outside. Marcus didn't move. His voice, low and measured, carried more weight than a shout. You think you've won because you've got cuffs and a badge. But you've already lost. My kids see you. My wife sees you. And soon the whole world will see you. The younger officer, the one who dared to suggest checking the taillights, shifted nervously. Maybe we should just quiet. The older one snapped, his rage spiraling. This man's resisting. Alicia's scream pierced the night. He is not resisting. The second cruiser's dashcam light blinked faintly, recording every second. Marcus lifted his chin, eyes blazing. Say it again. Say I'm resisting. Then look at that camera and tell yourself you're not lying. For a split second, silence froze the scene. The tall officer's gaze flicked to the dashcam, then away. The stocky officer muttered, This is getting messy. But the older cop only shoved Marcus harder. Get on the ground! Marcus's voice cracked like thunder. I will not kneel for you. The SUV door burst open. Alicia stumbling out, tears streaming. Stop, you're terrorizing my children. Two officers lunged toward her, hands out. Ma'am, stay back and don't touch me. Her scream echoed with decades of silenced voices. Do your job with justice, not hate. The younger officer froze. His hand hovered in the air, trembling. Something human flickered in his eyes. The older cop snarled, dragging Marcus lower. She's interfering. That's obstruction. Jamal's voice shook from inside the SUV, but it was clear, cutting. They're lying. They're trying to make Mom the criminal now. Nia sobbed. I'm scared, Jamal. Jamal pulled her close, whispering fast, Don't look away. Dad says we can't look away. Marcus met Alicia's eyes as she struggled against the officer's hold. His voice softened, but it carried like a prayer. Stand tall. They can't break us if we don't bend, and then the moment snapped. The older officer slammed the cuffs against Marcus's wrist, metal clashing against bone. The sound ripped through the night. But instead of silence, Marcus spoke again, his voice shaking the fragile facade of order. Every shove, every lie, you write your own downfall, because justice doesn't hide forever, and when it comes, it will not knock. The dashcam blinked red. Watching. Waiting. Recording. The stocky officer's throat bobbed as he swallowed hard. The younger one's hand dropped from his belt. A crack in the wall of silence, small but undeniable. The older officer didn't see it. His fury consumed him, but Alicia did. Jamal did. Even Nia, through her tears, sensed it. And Marcus? He stood in chains, but taller than any of them. The road wasn't empty anymore. A pair of headlights slowed, then stopped. A minivan pulled to the shoulder, doors opening as a family of 4 stepped out. A man in a baseball cap frowned. Hey, what's going on here? The older officer's head snapped around. Keep moving. This is police business, but the bystander didn't leave. He pulled out his phone. Looks like harassment to me. The stocky officer cursed under his breath. Not good. Not with cameras. Alicia seized the chance. Yes. Record it, please. They're trying to arrest my husband for nothing. The bystander's wife gasped, clutching her child's hand. Oh my God, with kids watching? Inside the SUV, Jamal sat straighter. We're not the only ones recording now. His voice was fierce, alive. They can't bury this. The older officer barked louder now, desperate. Sir, step back. You're interfering with an investigation. Marcus lifted his cuffed hands, the gesture calm, deliberate. Investigation into what? A working taillight? A black father driving with his family? The younger officer winced. His eyes darted to the bystanders' cameras. His voice came out low, almost a whisper. This is bad, the older one snapped. You shut your mouth. Alicia caught it, her heart leapt. He's breaking ranks, more cars slowed. Another driver rolled down their window, phone out. Everything all right? Doesn't look all right. The summer air thickened, heavy with unease. Power was shifting, subtle, fragile, but real. Marcus's voice cut through, iron steady. You can cuff me. You can shove me. But you can't hide me anymore. They see you now. The stocky officer rubbed the back of his neck, sweat glistening. Sergeant, maybe we— Quiet. The older cop roared, spittle flying. His mask cracked, fury spilling raw. This man is dangerous. Alicia's laugh broke sharp and bitter. Dangerous? He's a father. You're the only danger here, the crowd murmured, uneasy but leaning toward truth. Phones stayed raised. Marcus tilted his head toward the red blink of the dash cam. That camera. These witnesses. Your words will hang you. For the first time, the older officer hesitated. His grip faltered just a fraction. The silence after stretched taut. The system that had always stood unshakable suddenly seemed fragile, vulnerable. In the SUV, Jamal whispered, It's working. Nia sniffled, lifting her head. What's working? Jamal's eyes gleamed. The truth. Dad's not fighting with fists. He's fighting with truth. Marcus stood taller, chains glinting under the harsh light. The world won't remember your badge. They'll remember this moment, and who you chose to be in it. The older cop's face burned crimson. He shoved Marcus harder against the hood, but the act felt desperate, almost hollow, because the cracks were spreading. The silence wasn't silent anymore. It was unraveling. The air buzzed with tension. More headlights slowed along the roadside, shadows of people with phones raised, voices murmuring. The scene was no longer private. Every gesture, every shove was recorded. Marcus lifted his cuffed wrists again, deliberate, controlled. His voice carried like a gavel striking wood. You want to humiliate me? Fine, but understand this, you've already lost control. Too many eyes are watching now. Shut your mouth. The older officer barked, though his words cracked, brittle. He yanked Marcus's arms higher, trying to assert dominance. The crowd flinched. A woman's voice rang out. "He's not resisting!" We can all see it. Phones angled closer. The chorus of whispers grew. Alicia seized the moment, her own voice breaking through tears. "Please look at him. He's not just my husband. He's a man who's given his life to serve this country. And this is how you treat him?" The stocky officer stiffened. "Serve this country? What's she talking about?" The older cop sneered. "She's bluffing. Don't listen." But Marcus turned his head slowly, his eyes locking onto the younger officer, the one who'd hesitated before. His voice dropped to a tone only just above a whisper, but it cut clean. "Ask your sergeant if he's ready to explain to Internal Affairs why he's cuffing a federal agent over a fake taillight." The words struck like a lightning bolt. The younger officer froze. "Wait, what?" The stocky one blinked hard. "Federal agent?" His gaze flicked uncertainly between Marcus and his superior. The crowd reacted instantly. Gasps, sharp intakes of breath, murmurs turning into louder questioning. Alicia's chest heaved, her trembling voice steadying with sudden courage. "Yes, you heard him. Federal Bureau of Investigation. My husband doesn't just know the law, he enforces it." The older cop's face contorted, panic and rage tangled. Lies, they'll say anything to get out of this. But Marcus's calm cut through again. "Then check my wallet. Front pocket, badge and credentials. Or better yet, call it in. See how fast your world caves in?" Phones zoomed closer. Someone in the crowd shouted, "Check his ID! Prove it!" The younger officer hesitated, the weight of the moment pressing on him. His hand twitched toward Marcus's pocket. "Don't you dare!" The older cop snapped, sweat beading on his forehead. The silence that followed was no longer empty. It was damning. In the SUV, Jamal's eyes widened, his whisper fierce with pride. "Dad's FBI? He's FBI?" Nia clutched his arm, voice quivering. "He's like a hero?" Jamal nodded, tears burning his eyes. "Yeah, and they messed with the wrong man." Outside, Marcus straightened his back, his cuffed hand still raised like a challenge. "You want to talk about law and order? I am the law you swore to uphold. And tonight, every second you spend denying it becomes evidence." The older cop's voice cracked. "He's bluffing. He has to be." But his eyes told a different story, wild, hunted, cornered, and the crowd. They'd already chosen who to believe. The night vibrated with voices now. Phones lifted high, headlights casting long shadows, the hum of anger and disbelief spreading like fire. "Check his ID," a man shouted. "Why's he in cuffs if he's FBI?" another demanded. "Y'all are finished." The older officer's hand trembled as he yanked Marcus harder against the hood. "Enough, everybody back or you'll be arrested too." But the threat rang hollow. The crowd only pressed closer, voices rising, outrage spilling into the humid night. The younger officer finally stepped forward, voice breaking. "Sergeant, what if he's telling the truth?" "Shut up," the older one barked, but the panic in his tone betrayed him. Marcus's voice boomed, calm and commanding. "In my right pocket, credentials. If you're so confident I'm lying, prove it." The stocky officer's lips parted, his hesitation heavy. His eyes flicked to the crowd, to the blinking dash cam, to Marcus's steady gaze. Slowly, almost against his will, his hand reached forward. The sergeant grabbed his wrist. "Don't you touch it." Gasps rippled through the onlookers. Alicia's voice cut sharp through the chaos. "What are you so afraid of? That the truth will expose you?" The sergeant's mask cracked completely. He shoved Marcus down with sudden violent force. "Stay down, you piece of trash!" A roar of outrage exploded from the crowd. "That's assault. Get his badge number. World's gonna see this." Inside the SUV, Jamal nearly dropped the phone in his rush to get closer to the window. "He's losing it, Nia. Everyone's filming everyone." Nia whispered through her tears. "Dad's gonna be okay. Right?" Jamal's jaw tightened. "He has to be. He has to." Marcus grunted under the blow, but when he lifted his head, his eyes blazed brighter than ever. "You've just written your own ending." The younger officer stepped back, horror spreading across his face. "Sergeant, you can't do this. Cameras are everywhere. IA's gonna crucify us." "Us?" The older cop whirled on him, spit flying. "Don't you dare lump yourself with me. You think you're clean? You'll sink with me when this gets out." The words struck like a confession. echoing into every recording phone. Marcus's chest rose and fell, his voice cutting through the chaos with lethal precision. Listen well. That's not me saying it. That's him, your own sergeant admitting guilt. This is the truth. It's documented. It's undeniable. The stocky officer dropped his hand from his belt. The younger one stepped fully back, shaking his head. The wall of silence shattered. And the sergeant? His face twisted, veins pulsing, fury collapsing into something closer to fear. He looked at the crowd, the blinking cameras, the colleagues no longer shielding him. For the first time, he realized he was alone. Alicia's voice rose above the storm, ragged but triumphant. You can't bury justice. Not anymore. Marcus straightened slowly, despite the cuffs biting into his wrists. His defiance towered over the broken man, trying to push him down. You wanted me on my knees. Instead, you'll go down first. The sergeant's grip faltered. His hand dropped. His eyes darted, searching for escape, but there was none. The collapse had come. Red and blue lights painted the road as another cruiser rolled in. This one different. Its door opened and a commanding figure stepped out. A police captain, silver hair gleaming under the floodlights. What the hell is going on here? His voice thundered. The sergeant stiffened, sweat dripping down his temple. Routine stop gone south, sir. The suspect resisted. Suspect? The captain's gaze snapped to Marcus, hands cuffed, shirt rumpled. That man? Marcus lifted his wrists. Calm, controlled. Badge, right pocket. Verify it, the captain's brow furrowed. He strode forward, ignoring the sergeant's sputtering protests, and reached into Marcus's pocket. A wallet emerged. The captain flipped it open and froze. The FBI seal gleamed under the floodlights. Gasps erupted from the crowd. Someone shouted, "He is FBI!" Phones tilted closer. Alicia's sob turned into a sharp, triumphant cry. I told you. Jamal pounded the seat with his fist. Yes, yes. They can't touch him now. Nia's tears turned to a trembling smile. Daddy's a hero. The captain's jaw tightened as he held the credentials high. This man is a federal agent. Who authorized this arrest? The sergeant's face blanched. His mouth opened, then shut. Sir, enough. The captain's glare cut him down. You just assaulted and attempted to unlawfully detain an FBI officer in front of multiple witnesses and on dashcam. Phones zoomed closer. The crowd buzzed with outrage and vindication. Marcus's voice was quiet, but it carried like a bell. You thought my silence was weakness. You thought my family's fear gave you power. But now the world sees who you are. And you'll answer for it. The sergeant lunged as if to protest, but the captain raised a hand. You're done. Badge. Gun. Now! Gasps echoed as the older man's hand shook, unclipping his badge, setting down his weapon. The collapse was complete. The younger officer stared, shame etched across his face. The stocky one muttered, God help us. The captain nodded to Marcus, his tone shifting to respect. Agent, I'm deeply sorry. This will be handled. Immediately. Marcus straightened, the cuffs finally removed from his wrists. Red marks circled his skin, but his dignity stood untouched. He turned to Alicia, who rushed forward, tears streaking her face as she clung to him. They can't break us, she whispered. They never could, Marcus answered, pulling her close. The children bolted from the SUV, Jamal clinging to his father, Nia burying her face against his chest. Marcus kissed their heads, holding them tight as if to anchor the world back into place. The crowd erupted, cheers, shouts, calls for justice. Phones stayed raised, capturing every second. Marcus lifted his chin, his voice rising above the roar. This isn't just my fight. This is for every father, every mother, every child who's been humiliated, terrorized, or silenced. Tonight, the truth didn't bend. And it will never bend again. The captain gestured to the disgraced sergeant, now pale and trembling. Take him in. Two officers moved forward, their hands on his arms. For once, the man who had mocked and shoved and sneered felt the cold weight of restraint himself. The cuffs clicked shut around his wrists. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Phones flashed like lightning, recording poetic justice in real time. Marcus looked on, his face unreadable, his silence heavier than any speech. And when the sergeant was led away, head bowed, the night finally exhaled. Justice wasn't clean. It wasn't perfect. But it was undeniable, and for Marcus, Alicia, Jamal, and Nia, it was enough.